Hey everybody, we're back with our last Marvel cartoon movie review.
Ugh.
And it's the best one, maybe? No,
What?
I don't know. Or it's the biggest one to come out. And it is the Avengers Affinity Wars. Remember that one? Yes, people are still going to see it, according to what I read on the internet.
42 times.
Because so many people have seen the latest Avengers Affinity War movie, I will dispense with my usual partially detailed summary. But in a nutshell, basically the evil Thanos, the villain in this movie, has a special glove that has several spaces on it for different colored infinity stones. And each stone comes from a different area of the galaxy. Once he steals all the stones and knows the special secret from his adopted daughter Gamora, he can rule the universe. Also, if he succeeds, people will die. In order to fight him, almost every Marvel superhero who's been in a movie up to this point has to fight for a stone. And it looks like they are all losers. What?
That's a
How
spoiler.
can that be? That's okay. None of these powerful Marvel superheroes whom we have grown to love and or respect can get together and demolish one bad guy? Not even Thor, who is not even an ordinary human, but a god after all. What the hell? So basically, this movie ends in a cliffhanger. And remember when I said people will die if Thanos, whatever, achieves his goal? They don't die like like what you say it in the usual sense, being knifed or shot or hit. They just turn into Surratt dots. And just for a special note, Surratt is a French painter. Anyway, I think the director and her writers borrowed some ideas to make this movie, like maybe something that won't come up until the sequel. For example, time might become a very important factor in the story. Reversing time, going back into the past, changing what happens to reverse the course of the future. Remember the Harry Potter story where Hermione wore that time changer necklace? Or was the whole Infinity Wars a dream? Remember the famous Dallas episode where it turned out to be just a dream that JR died? Also, this movie reminded me more of a video game where each galaxy is like a level. So each Avengers heroes fights the boss Thanos, and afterwards you move to the next level with a different Marvel superhero heroes, and so on. Marco, take it away.
Well, I don't have much to say. Ugh.
Well,
Excuse me.
I
That's what I thought of this movie.
oh,
It's
that's terrible, Marco.
terrible. I would say it's probably the worst movie I've seen this year so far. And not worse, not the worst, like visually and acting wise, but worse writing wise. It's horribly written. It's the worst written Marvel movie besides Iron Man 3 and Spider Man Homecoming. So it's the third worst Marvel movie because nothing makes sense, nothing is consistent. The power scales are all over the place. And it doesn't take like a nerd to figure that out. All you have to do is look at Age of Ultron. Vision was extremely powerful, and in this movie, he's like a weak little bitch, and he and Scarlet Witch can't defeat these bad guys. But then you have three humans come in, and they suddenly defeat these bad guys and almost kill one of them. Like, come on, what a joke! I mean, these writers basically every power that people has, it all has to do with where you are in the story. If this character is battling the big bad guy in the third act, he's got to be the most powerful because that's going to be more dramatic and fun. But if this guy's fighting him early on, we should make it look like he's a loser and he's not very powerful. Like that's the type of stuff I'm talking about. Making people have powers that are stronger or weaker based on where you are in the story. And that's wrong. You don't do that. Because that completely rips apart the integrity of the movie and integrity of the people who made the movie. I mean, I have to wonder if these directors of the movie are even comic book fans. Because as a comic book fan, nobody will be able to sit here and say Infinity War is the greatest movie ever, it's the greatest Marvel movie ever. And yeah, people have said that. They said that Infinity War was the best Marvel movie ever. They also said, according to IMDb, that Infinity War is the tenth greatest movie of all time, beating movies like Schindler's List, the Seven Samurai, one of the Godfather movies. They think that Infinity War is the 10th best movie of all time. And why is that? Because it looks good and because it has a couple of satisfying moments that, I don't know, they're just too much to handle. It's too much to handle seeing something that we've already seen on TV shows, these crossovers with all these people coming together. We already see that on TV. But all of a sudden we see that in a movie, it's like something that we really were taking for granted. It's something special. Not really. It's really actually kind of stupid because they're shoving all this in one movie, in Infinity War, and it's horrible. It doesn't work as a movie at all. There's no story. The villain the performance is good, but his reasoning is so bad.
His
it's
what?
not even funny. His reasoning.
Oh,
His
reason.
reasoning for doing what he's doing. There's no
Yeah.
reasoning at all.
I
There's
didn't
no
get it either.
motivation.
Yeah, that's unbelievable, and that's like the crux of the story.
And who does villains good? Joss Whedon. Okay, let's look at some of the villains Joss Whedon has done. Loki, and according to Marvel fans, Loki has been the greatest villain the entire time until Thanos showed up, and yet he's somehow a bad person. He can't make this movie. You don't want him to make this movie. And what else did he do well? Everything. He did everything else well by balancing power scaling to where it actually is and not where the story needs it to be.
Okay, well, my problem with the movie is that there's a cardinal rule to writing, which says not to have too many characters.
No, that's not
Well,
valid.
let's just let me finish. It makes it very hard to achieve a sense of storyline coherence when the characters don't get their due, which means they come off looking more one-dimensional than three-dimensional, and therefore their presence in the story loses meaning. Marco tells me that yes, a story with this many people can be successful if done right. In fact, he did do a story like this for a 4-H or school writing project with multiple characters, and I remember reading it.
Because she complained about it having too many characters.
Because that's a cardinal rule.
My story had less characters than Infinity War.
Fewer characters. Well, still, though, maybe he's right. So what does that say about this movie? It says to me that it was sloppy and needed more time and thought. And some of the characters' lines, which Marco has talked about quite a bit already, needed to be fleshed out better. Marco has a great example of this, and why don't you tell them or refresh their memory about the women in the fight scene?
Yeah, I forgot all about that. Probably because I wanted to put it out of my memory.
Well, this is a good
Yeah.
example of a really stupid thing to say from a
Well,
powerful woman about another even more powerful woman, and even more importantly for the story coherence and, like I said, its meaning, their meaning, the characters' meaning, and the storyline is just stupid. Go ahead.
everybody cheered for this line in the theater. They thought, "Oh wow, look, there's a powerful woman. Look
No, I
at
thought it made her look
this."
stupid, and she's
Uh,
not stupid.
it made her look retarded. Uh,
No, it just made her look
the
ridiculous.
Michonne from The Walking Dead, she Scarlet Witch leaves her loved one so that she can go demonstrate how much of a strong woman she is, and then Michonne says, "Why wasn't she here all the time?" And it's like, because she is guarding the fucking Infinity Stone.
Well, don't
And
swear.
guess what happens after she says that? We see the bad guys immediately signaling to each other, "Okay, the stone is unguarded." And then they go there, and they f him up, and he gets it because she had to go prove that she's a strong woman, and as well as that, it actually is an insult to her even more that she had to go out on the battlefield and show off because she's the most powerful in the comics. Based on the comics, she should be the most powerful person there besides Thor. And so, wouldn't you want the most powerful person on the group to be guarding the Infinity Stone? And also, they already discussed where everybody would be, presumably, before the battle. So why would she be questioning after they already discussed? See, there's so many different little tiny problems like that
Well,
that just rip this movie apart. You can't enjoy it. The only thing you can enjoy is the Guardians of the Galaxy comedy, and that's because James Gunn wrote it, not these shitty writers that wrote this movie.
well, they
What?
may not be Shitty, but they they needed to take more time and not if this is some kind of a studio thing for money, it's not going to be worth it if they don't. It could be worth more if they take more time and do a better job.
Well, what do you think about that line? What
Well,
I just talked
I
about?
agree. I just think that the sequel to this, I don't know when it's supposed to come out. Maybe you know. I hope they take a while to complete it. That it's being
No,
worked
they
out.
already completed it.
What?
They already completed. They shot them back to back.
Oh my.
It's coming out. Oh my is right because the same writers wrote it too.
Uh oh.
Yeah, not gonna be any good. Sorry.
Alright, well, I'll go ahead and give my review of the movie then. I think we've said just about all we're going to say.
Because the movie sucks.
Well,
And people are gonna be like, "Ugh, you guys,
we're entitled to
you
our
don't
own
like
opinions.
anything. You have to like stuff." Somebody actually said that about Star Wars. They said, "You have to enjoy movies or else they're not going to make them." Like, you're not allowed to criticize movies. You can only like them a lot. You can't actually criticize anything.
Okay, well my thing is we don't watch a lot of movies. Well, Marco actually watches a lot more than I do.
Oh, yeah.
And for this channel, we don't do an overwhelming movie review. And there's a site I watch on Facebook. They watch movies constantly every day.
Yeah, they watch like every movie that comes out.
Well, these are just older movies,
critics.
and not old movies, but just 70s, 80s, 90s. Anyway, so our thing is, at least for me, but I think Marco would agree, when we're reviewing a movie, it's not that we're just here to criticize the movie. We want we wanted or wished it would be better. It's just so it will be better, so it's better for everybody if it's written better and people take their time. Instead, I mean, nowadays it's especially for this series, the Marvel series, it seems like they're rushing to get things out in order to meet some kind of a money demand, and that it's
Well, I
just
think that
like it's
it would
about the money.
actually be smarter to to parcel it out over time, because like with Harry Potter, you had a movie like come out every 2 years in November,
Well, that's
and
because the books were already out,
and and
which served as a basis for
and,
the movie.
and that made them really special. And I actually think that Harry Potter is the best example of how you should release a series, how you should make a series, because it was consistently in November, I believe. That's what I remember. And but anyway, I wanted to say one last thing. You go ahead. I'm gonna think about it.
Okay, well, I'm just going to go ahead and review, give my little, like, remember, I know it's been like a month before since we've done anything, but we usually give for that makes one thing that makes us different when we review movies is that we equate it to some kind of food dish that we've had eaten at a restaurant or that we make here at home. And I will give this movie, instead of just a singular dish, I'm going to give it a food court of different restaurants. Because you're talking about different universes of groups of people, and I just can't do a dish for each character or group. So I'm giving it a food court of different restaurants that are all separate and unique from each other, but they have to share space in order to survive. So, for example, Black Panther would be a Tanzanian Kenyan restaurant. And since we're living in an area where there aren't a lot of restaurants, especially like an African related, like a Tanzanian, Kenyan,
Yeah, I
Ethiopian,
don't think we have any African related restaurants
no,
around
we
here.
don't have anything like. So I can't pick a specific restaurant because there's none to compare it to. I know about the different foods because I have lived in Tanzania, but I can't. There's no restaurant here, so I'll just say it'd be like a Tanzanian Kenyan restaurant. You know, rice, beans, uh, mangoes, things like that. There's nothing else I can say about that. Anyway, the Avengers would be a Chick-fil-A. Everybody knows what that is. Doctor Strange and his cohorts would be a Chinese restaurant. And Guardians of the Galaxy would be a popcorn and candy store. And that's how I'm going to review it. So,
And guess what? She never figured out Thanos, even though I reminded her last
oh,
night.
well, I think what I'll do is I'll say Thanos would be A&W,
Yeah.
which would be like I don't know how to I don't know why, but he just reminds me of an A&W. We did go to the A&W when we were on vacation in California. We rented a car, so we were able to drive from about 300 miles, and we did get to go to an A&W. We don't even have an A&W around here either. So that's what I'm saying. We have nothing here. So go ahead, Marco.
It's not very special.
We have a few things here, but we don't have as much as
it
somewhere
wasn't
else.
good in Missouri, but it was good in California. I don't know why. Like the food in California, I give the A&W in California a 5 out of 5, but I give the food in A&W in Missouri like a 2.5 out of 5.
Oh, I want to say that the A&W we went to in California, it was in Los Banos, or Banos.
You don't need to disclose that.
Well, I want to say that, give them credit.
What I actually wanted to say was that yeah, we're going to point out our problems with this movie because we actually have standards for this movie we just didn't go in like, oh yeah, whatever they give us is fine. We don't care. We don't have any expectations for film. We're just gonna go in there and like whatever they make. So if they made a movie that's just a guy sitting at a table throwing up all over the table, we don't care about that because we have to like everything that they make, and if we don't, then we're bad fans. That's what they say online. It's really weird. These fans like attack other fans, just in general. Like on Twitter, there was this guy equating fans who have problems with Star Wars and Marvel to Annie Wilkes and Misery. Like Misery predicted that fans would be that upset about things. Like that they really have some strange ideas about fans. Like we're just supposed to be these slaves who like whatever they make, and if we don't, then we're bad fans. It's really weird. Anyway, I don't care because I'll say what I'm actually thinking about these movies. I'm not gonna lie just to appease a bunch of 30-year-old losers. Uh, I rate this movie. So there's this American Dad episode. I don't know what it's called, but the main character goes to this restaurant where they put a bunch of these odd combinations on a plate. A bunch of these weirdo combinations like Pop-Tart pizza, stuff that wouldn't work, like different stuff that they put on a plate. It doesn't go together. So so I took every single character from the movie and turned them into a food item, and then you put all that stuff on a plate, everybody's gonna have to like it, right? So Thanos is a giant Disneyland turkey leg, and I can't really go into why because that would take a long time. It would probably take an hour to explain the details. Thor is spaghetti because I actually like Thor in this movie. I thought that he was really good, and Loki is garlic olives. Heimdall is an energy drink. Hulk is a chocolate mint cupcake because you know how cupcakes are really supposed to be cake, but they're too scared to be cake, so they're these tiny little cupcakes. The Black Order is a can of sardines. Doctor Strange is veggie pasta. Wong is a spoonful of tea. Iron Man is a giant ribeye steak cooked medium with pepper crust. Pepper, his girlfriend, is a baked potato with margarine. So, baked potato and steak go together. That's why I did that. Spider-Man is pizza bites. Star-Lord is a corn dog with ketchup and mustard. Drax is spicy nachos. Mantis is orange-flavored chocolate. Groot is a piece of potato bread. Rocket is homemade baked beans. Gamora is vanilla and chocolate pudding, which like those little tiny pudding cups. Collector is the smell of great lasagna being cooked. Because another thing is that the Collector has like all this stuff, and he's also extremely powerful. But you wouldn't know because we didn't get to see Thanos have to fight Collector. That was a missed opportunity. The giant weapon guy is toast with butter on it. Nebula is a chicken sandwich. Because again, she's just there. She's just like, I'm Nebula, I'm here. And we're supposed to like her for some reason. I don't know why. Red Skull is fideo, which is Mexican spaghetti, because like fideo, I didn't expect it to be good and it surprised me. Vision is a small asparagus spear. Scarlet Witch is a larger yet rotten asparagus spear. And I could do a whole video why why they're asparagus spears. Captain America is salmon on crackers, aka you know when you're gonna have salmon for dinner, but then they bring out salmon on crackers as a appetizer. Like, why would you want that? Why would you want? Now you're interfering with the microphone. Why would you want a main dish type of meat to be an appetizer when you're already gonna have it as a main dish? Black Widow is a lobster ravioli, and that's not a compliment, by the way. That's a very high, bad thing to say, because I had this lobster ravioli at this pretentious Italian restaurant, and it was horrible. Falcon is a cheap, tasteless cookie. War Machine is a cheap, tasteless cookie drenched in gas. Black Panther is potato soup. Black Panther's dumb sister is a weak little White Castle slider with an entire bottle of pepper on it. The Michonne from The Walking Dead is potato soup but in a can. Bucky, the Winter Soldier, is white bread with apple jelly. So you can see all the different elements for this movie do not go well together. I mean, just think about putting potato soup in your mouth and then immediately after vanilla chocolate pudding at once. All at once. You have to eat it all at once. That's what it's like. And it could have worked, because then you have Guardians of the Galaxy 2. It's a Chinese stir fry. All the people work well together. The story works well together as one dish. But this movie is not even a dish. I couldn't even make this movie into a dish. She couldn't either. She made a food court, which doesn't even make any sense, because then you could only go to one stand, or maybe two if you want to get dessert. You couldn't go to all the different stands, but this movie went to all the different stands. So, closing thoughts, Sophie?
Well, I don't know why you couldn't go to all the different stands if you wanted to. If you had a few $100s and you wanted to try something from everyone, yes, you could. And they're all in the same. They're all on the same area. You just walk over to one and walk over to the next. But anyway, that's just beside the point. I just hope that this next one is better. But now that Marcos told me they've already made it, and right after, that kind of scares me. But it'll be interesting to see how they decide to. Since it ended in a cliffhanger, it'll be interesting to see how they rectify the outcome that several people died. It was some kind of thing. Do you remember what it said, that the prophecy would be if the secret, it wasn't just getting all the Affinity Stones, which I said,
No.
you also had to know the secret.
No.
Well, whatever. What was the prophecy?
Secret.
Every third person would die, or
no, every other person would die.
Every other person would die. So every other person turns into a Surratt dot. Well, they turned into several Surratt dots.
It's not going to be any good. Just sorry to burst people's bubbles, but after those horrible writers made the first movie, how could the second one actually be any better?
It could be better if they had waited a while and just put some more thought.
And took their time to listen what fans thought, instead of just rushing it out. Because they shot these movies back to back while they were also shooting Spider-Man, preschool Iron Man. And so...
Oh, actually, we should say the Spider-Man in this movie, compared to the one that we highly criticized, Spider-Man Homecoming, which neither one of us liked, he's a lot better in this movie. He's actually more... He's actually closer to what he should be.
Yeah.
In terms of a lot of things.
He's still a little preschooler, though.
Well, that they treat him as such.
Yeah, that's actually what I liked about this movie is how he got beat up by everybody, and everybody treated him like he's a nothing. Because that's what he is. That's what this character is now in Marvel. He used to be uh, Tobey Maguire, who killed all of the supervillains who he went against, and he would have been able to beat Thanos by himself. By the way, Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, he would have killed Thanos all by himself.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I
He
don't know
killed
about that.
he killed 5 villains in the original series that he was never able to kill in his entire run of comics.
Yeah.
So
We
that's how
got
powerful
big,
he is.
that big multi-armed monster. What was that called?
Doc Ock, and that's
Doc
not a
Ock.
monster. That's a person with mechanical arms.
Oh yeah, that's right. Well, he had a monster mentality where he wanted to kill everybody, but
Not really. He wasn't trying to kill anybody. He was trying to create an energy source. But
well, anyway, he I don't think he would be able to kill Thanos. Not this one.
Spider-Man easily could. Tobey Maguire, all by himself.
Okay, well, moving on. That's all I have to say about it. And right, are you done?
What else could we say about it?
I don't have anything
Oh,
else
oh
to
yeah,
say.
the soundtrack I think is fantastic. I think it's unfortunate because the soundtrack deserved a better movie. Because that's probably why I liked this movie when I first watched it was because of the soundtrack. The soundtrack really worked well with the visuals and the Guardians humor. But then you actually think about it, you actually watch the movie again, and you see how horrible it is.
All right. Well, if you're
In
done,
fact, what's the worst moment of the movie for you, and what's the best moment?
I don't know, Marco. I think the worst moment is when everybody starts disappearing. Because I'm like, what's going on here?
Yeah, it was funny because in my original story, what happened was all the superheroes died besides Captain America and Iron Man. And there's this bad guy version of Spider-Man, and he rules the Earth. And then he gets tricked by them, and he gets killed, and so does the entire universe. And she thought, no way could that happen where all the superheroes mostly get killed, and then they started disappearing. And she was
In
like,
this movie.
oh my god, like,
Well, nobody knew what was going on. They're like, what's going on? And because the only people that probably really knew, well, she was already gone, but would have been the daughter of Thanos. She would have understood, but I don't think everybody. I don't know if they didn't know about the secret or what, but nobody knew what was going on, and it was just like it was a weird way to end the movie because they show. I don't remember Samuel Jackson.
well, that was post credits. That doesn't count.
Was that a post-credit
Yeah.
scene? Oh, okay. Well, it doesn't count.
No.
Okay. Well, that was the worst for me. I think the best, except it didn't matter. At least in this movie, in this one, maybe in the sequel it'll matter more. But Thor gets a special new weapon, and
Axe.
they go to the place where the special Thor weapons are made. That was never shown ever before.
Yeah, that's a very integral place to his character. He's supposed to guard that place from any evil. And of course he didn't do that, which is disgusting. He's Thor, god of thunder, and he's not guarding people. And also because whenever there's like a big bad guy in the comics or the cartoons even, which the cartoons do a better job of all the characters than this movie did. The power scaling, that is. He always goes there to get a new weapon. Whenever he loses his hammer, he goes there, and so Thor Ragnarok really garbage when you think about that. He could have went there
Could have gone there.
and killed Thanos by himself and also gotten a new weapon to kill Hela. So, oh yeah, I also want to talk about the deaths. So you think about there's two ways that you could think about all these heroes dying. If they really did die, like the Russos are egging on in interviews, then it's even worse because none of them got their moment and none of them got long enough time to be good characters in the Marvel Universe, such as Black Panther. Even though I don't think his movie was excellent, I thought it was good, and I think he deserves more. And so all these characters, they're wasted because I don't know, they want to do more female oriented stuff, like have his sister, his weak little sister, become Black Panther. Hopefully not. But then if they didn't die, if they're going to be resurrected, then that denotes their deaths entirely because it's like there's no stakes. So there's both ways. Their deaths don't matter because we know about all these sequels, all these other movies. There's no drama, there's no suspense. In the comics, you didn't know who was going to survive or be resurrected. So, what do you think, Safi?
Well,
do you agree?
Yeah, I agree. Now I'm not up on what's coming out next, but I know that they wouldn't kill Black Panther off because his movie raked in a lot of money.
People actually said that they'd be okay with his sister becoming Black Panther. Ugh.
Well, I'd like to see Black Panther be Black Panther for a while before that happens. Why do they have to change it right off the bat?
I don't know.
And unless he personally wishes to do something else and he wants to get out, I don't think they should change it. Not at least not now. Maybe later on. But I love that story, and I know maybe everybody doesn't love it as much as me. It's just because I've been to a country in Africa and lived there, and I just know it. Somebody like that, even though it's imaginary, they always would love to watch. They always love watching movies there if they can have access to a movie place to go. And that would be a movie people I live with, they would love it. No matter what people thought, they would love the movie.
Do you agree about if they actually died, they don't get resurrected? That it's really even worse because
Well, it makes no sense.
none of them got their moments. None of them got
that's because
what they deserved.
That's because they did not spend enough time.
Yeah.
I said they were that. In other words, they were more one-dimensional than three-dimensional.
Yeah, they were all one-dimensional. There was no characters in this movie.
Except for Thanos.
No,
maybe.
except for Thor. No, Thanos.
Thor, yeah.
In order to be a character, Thanos would have to have a motivation, and he doesn't have a motivation.
But he had a lot of screen time.
Yeah, he had a lot of screen time.
More than most everybody. Probably he and Thor had the most screen time. Because Thor popped up in the beginning, and then he came up in the middle, and then he was there in the end. And then, of course, Thanos, he was there. Like I said, if you compare it to a video game, it was like every time we went to a galaxy, that was a level. And then the Avenger or the superhero in that galaxy, they fight Thanos, and whatever happens, happens. Then they move to the next level, and then the next level, and then the final level is, well, that he gets everything he needs, and then the last level, which is not even like a video game, uh, every other person starts turning into a Surratt dot painting and vanishes. And then because I don't think everybody knows about that secret, because it didn't seem to be that they knew what was going on, they're surprised and outraged and horrified. And so I think of all the people watching the movie and they're going, oh my God, no. Because, like I said, people are dying, but not like dying in the usual sense. It's like they're just vanishing.
So right before we go, I think the worst moment of the movie. It's hard to say because there are a lot of bad moments. This movie's not a good movie. So there are a lot of God, it's really hard to choose what the worst moment is. I'm not gonna say it's that moment where she says, why weren't you here why wasn't she here all the time? Because
That's the most ridiculous moment.
because I don't even want to think about that moment. I don't even want to acknowledge that moment existed. So I'm gonna have to say that the moment when all the stuff with Vision and Scarlet Witch and Europe. Number one, they have a romance, which is gross, and because he's a humanoid robot and she's a human person. And number two, it's boring as hell. I mean, the writers of this movie, or I mean the directors, they said that Vision and Scarlet Witch were the most interesting characters in the whole movie. I mean, that's just a bunch of BS.
Malarkey.
And so when they were on screen and having their little stupid romance, that was the moment I went up and got to the bathroom the second time I saw it, because I knew, I was like, I don't want to watch this again. And then they get saved by Captain America and two other humans, with Black Widow, who's weak as hell. She should have died a million years ago. She has no character, and as well as Falcon, that weak guy. They're all weak, and they should have gotten killed already. And they should not be saving a mutant in Scarlet Witch, probably one of the most powerful characters in the Marvel Universe. She should not be saved by humans. And so that's the worst moment. The best moment is of Thor, easily. I mean, there's no question. So that's it.
Okay, well, I just want to remind everybody that we will be starting our reviews and watching Alfred Hitchcock movies. And yesterday I told you what the names of the movies were. And if you want to know, I guess I could repeat it. Let's see, Vertigo is one. And then Lifeboat. Is it Lifeboat? And what else? Frenzy. And The Man Who Knew Too Much. And
Lifeboat,
what was the other one?
Frenzy, Vertigo, Lifeboat, The Man Who Knew Too Much, and Rope.
And Rope. And it's not the most known ones. Well, some of them are, but like Rope and maybe Lifeboat. Even though Lifeboat is really outstanding.
I picked Lifeboat because I'm interested to watch it.
We didn't want to pick ones that, I mean, everybody, like, they're iconic. Like Psycho is iconic. And we just went to, when we were in California, we went to Madame Tussauds in San Francisco, and they had an Alfred Hitchcock wax figure. And next to one of the things about this Madame Tussauds, where they had a lot of, maybe they have them in all of them, but they have it called, I would call interactive displays, where you put on a hat or you hold a guitar, but next to Alfred Hitchcock's statue or wax figure, they had a shower, and you would go in, and all of a sudden it had a knife hanging from the top, and then you would, it as soon as that was you pulled on it, I guess it would light up, and it would be that famous shower scene from Psycho. So I mean, there they go. That's one of the most iconic. The music is iconic. If you haven't seen the movie, you know the music, and it's kind of like Jaws, and with its music. And then,
okay, I don't know why we're talking about that
well,
right now.
that's
We're gonna
what,
be starting Hitchcock month, and that's
right
it for
away.
this review.
Okay, everybody, bye.
Bye.